What's up, everybody? Can anybody hear me? Can anybody hear me? McDonnell, Mercury spacecraft. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I got my new microphone. You can see it? So, hopefully coming through loud and clear. Check it out. Computer comprised of nothing but relays and switches. And yes, it is a computer. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I hope you're doing well. Had a good holiday, good Christmas. Let's make it a good new year. I'm here at the Air Force Museum. Gonna take us on a walk around. See, we got the Mercury spacesuit, 1963. Incredibly brave. To go into outer space is something that looks like this, huh? Yes. We have satellite carrier that's massive. Now when we get to Apollo 11, spacesuits look pretty much what we expect them to look like. You have the vehicle for Apollo 15 command module. And this is the actual one. As you can see, the burn marks from re-entry. Now we come up to 1971. Apollo 15. Now these spacesuits, pretty remarkable. Look at the bling. Take a step back here where we can see the massiveness of the satellites. Now they're not all that big. Now I'm in the, yes, the Apollo 15 looks like a lot safer. I'm in the experimental, presidential, and global reach. And this right here is a monument to the new Space Force. My cousin is an officer in the Space Force. That's the pen that was used to sign the Space Force into existence. And you guys know about relays, Army, Navy fittings. This is what really took the SR-71 off the market, because you don't really need airplanes when you have satellites with massive sensors like that. Check that out. All right, taking a little bit of break from space. Let's get into speed. The X-15A. Neil Armstrong from Wapakoneta. I've been to Wapakoneta High School for a wrestling tournament. Now this is for hypersonic research. Mach 6.7, tearing your face off. And guess what? No landing gear. Yes, sir.
The X-15A2 would never fly again. Piedmont's record still remains the highest speed continued to ever flown in an airplane.
I want to put that turbo on my car. Now, I'm gonna take y'all from the back to the front, but the Valkyrie, you cannot miss this. Titanium infused rubber for those high temperature landings. But if you can see like how massive this is, I'm standing underneath it. We've always got to take a look at that engine real quick. And this one had 6 of them, but let me not ruin the surprise. Here we go. Now they had to take this one out of commission. It was still in the experimental stage due to a tragic accident. But you got the 6-pack right there. This 6-pack will take you really high and really fast. Can you imagine? Look at that. The X-1B Valkyrie. And like I say all the time, come out to Ohio, come to Dayton, come to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, one of the most amazing aircraft museum in the world. I mean, I've been to the Smithsonian, and they have a few things that we don't have, but we got all this. I mean, look at this massive airplane. And we have it in its entirety. Another couple of experimental Air Force vehicles. And we still got the Valkyrie in frame. I'm gonna try to step back so we can get it all. There it is. Massive intake. I wish I could see it fly. I wish I could fly on it. But due to a tragic accident, they had to suspend it. Now right here, we have, what is this, the XB? The precursor to the SR-71. Still has all the titanium, still has the J-58s. No, the YF-12A. Lockheed, of course. And most people argue with me all the time, but these are CIA spy planes that are maintained and operated by the Air Force. Now, in the other hangar, we have an actual SR-71. But let's go back to that Valkyrie again, see the massiveness of it. See, I'm working on getting better connections. I'm studying things, looking at T-Mobile to Starlink so I can go live. Luckily, they have great Wi-Fi here. Now this vehicle was the Gee Whiz. Colonel Stapp would voluntarily power this vehicle up to, how fast he was going? 46 Gs and do an immediate stop all to test G-forces on himself. And as you can see right there, that's blood in his face because his body stopped, but the blood wants to keep on going due to inertia. Now let's take a look at this, because they have tons of engines here. A big bad boy Allison V3420, 24 cylinders. So 2 V12s. And look at that supercharger. Look at that, wow. 2 massive Allison V12s, 2 prop shafts going into a common differential, spinning that. The Fisher P75A Eagle. I think this was pretty much the last day when they were trying to squeeze out everything they could out of a piston engine before they took it over to the jet engines, of course. Now, if you used to watch Transformers, you know they had some Decepticons that were shaped exactly like those. Let's take a look at this experimental. Early days of jets. This was a centrifugal jet. You can see that massive impeller, fuel stage and compression stage. Like I mentioned, I'm in the experimental area. Another Allison. And a lot of these names you get used to because they're still around. Now, I would say this is one of the most unique experimentals. They could only get it about 5 feet off the ground. But if you could imagine looking at that, you would definitely wonder. I guess if you didn't see that big USAF on there, you'd wonder what was that. Now, this is like the precursor to the new Osprey, the articulating propellers. Rolls-Royce turbojet. Now this experimental vehicle was meant to take off from that vertical position at a dead stop. Now, everybody knows about inertia. That would take a whole lot of energy. It really wasn't efficient, so that's why it really didn't take off, no pun intended. The YF-23, the massive General Electric YF-120 engine, came out in the 1980s. think it's the precursor, or it might even just be the advent of thrust vectoring, which means you can steer with the thrust. Some old gyros, old drones. Now we're venturing off into the global reach. Okay, here's an example. I'm bouncing around here, but this is an example of thrust vectoring for sure. In this massive engine. Now, the C-11-9J satellite catcher is pretty self-explanatory. In the early days of satellite launching, this would be the vehicle that they used to retrieve them. As you can see back here, they would have the satellites with a salt plug, and if they couldn't get to them in time enough, the salt plug would wear out, causing the satellites to sink to the bottom of the ocean. That way, if the US didn't get them, no one else could. And in joint efforts with NASA, okay, that's new. Dropping off provisions. All right. Now this is the presidential gallery. One of the most notable ones that we have here is Sam 26,000. This was Kennedy's airplane. And this is what he came back from after that tragic day. So what I was told, that it's only called Air Force One when the actual president is on it. So any other time, this vehicle is called S-26,000. Now, I'm a big guy, and I can barely fit on there. But let's go on anyway. And also what I was told, that his casket would not fit in any of the doors, so modifications had to be made because Jackie Kennedy refused to have his body ride below in the cargo area. Now, the cool thing about this is they let you know how narrow it's going to be. So let's go. Oh, slide to the side.
What? Oh, okay.
Take a look at that cockpit. Control center. When you're riding with the president. Little galley.
Take a picture.
I don't know if that's an actual TV from the time, but when you're riding on Air Force One, it's going to be more luxuries than any other time in the 60s. Was everybody who's still here with me. I appreciate it. Now I won't go on this one, but I'll show you guys this. Harry S. Truman. This was his Air Force One, the Independence. Like I said, here at the Dayton Air Force Museum, we have some beautiful examples of aircrafts throughout history. Because I'd say right over in Dayton, you have the Wright Brothers Bicycle Shop, and they had a vision, and that vision was to fly. And with that vision, they carried the desire to make it happen. Because if you can hold it in your mind, you can hold it in your head. You can hold it in your hand. Now here's one aspect of life that I miss. The shuttle program. Hadn't got to see a space shuttle launch in well over 20 years, and it's very sad. This is the Vance crew suit, used in between 1994 and 2011. This is a EMU, extra vehicular mobility unit. This is what you would go out on a spacewalk with. It's amazing how far they came. All right, let's take a walk up here.
That's the actual trailer for the space shuttle. Like the real one.
Yeah, all the science living 11 kiddos don't get to see too much unless you watch a SpaceX launch. I mean, a few rockets in here too. I'm gonna take you guys as far as I can before the Wi-Fi runs out, so let's hope it stays locked in. Teal Ruby, experimental early warning sensor. I was always intrigued with this gold foil. They always used a lot of it. Yeah, there it is. Photovoltaic cells, aka solar panels. It was amazing how they can make these things run on so low amperage and so low voltage. All right, let's take a look. Mid deck. Looks like it has 2 vehicle seats.
Yeah. I didn't know that you can't read.
I also have to keep in mind that this was not be horizontal like this. It would actually be pointed up. Getting ready for liftoff. Still amazes me to this day. And I wish they would bring it back. Which I hear they have plans, but I don't know how solid they are. All right. Let's hope that this Wi-Fi holds strong so we can go look at some rockets.
On that big aircraft carrier.
All right, let's go for a little walk. You come here and do yoga. Yoga with the fighter jets. And everybody that's still with me, I appreciate it a whole lot. This is kind of one of my first lives where I was actually doing something. Let's take a look at this. Now, the threat of nuclear war been around for a good 80 years. Take a look at the ladies. Take a look at how this is buried underground. That's really cool. All right, now let's take a look at this. Rocket technology. Things that are cool. The fuel and even the exhaust are sometimes the coolant per se. Of the rocket engine. Now, one thing that I saw about SpaceX is that they were able to achieve 300 bar in the combustion chamber. Now, this is the Titan 1. Let's go all the way up. Yes, we have full-size rockets here. Now, the SpaceX, the Raptor, was able to achieve 300 bar in a combustion chamber. And 300 bar is 300 times 14.8. I can't do that in my head, but that's how much pressure. And a lot of times the fuel is ran through the exhaust cones to cool it down. So the fuel is the ignition and the coolant. First American ICBM, 1953. Technology is always on the rise.
Top the one with silver, the boogeyman we know.
All right, let's take another walk to the fan favorite. One that I know you'll know, and one that I know that you'll like. The internet's still holding strong, so let's keep going. The fan favorite. Now this is an actual SR-71 Blackbird. Let's get a little close up on it. That nose section was replaceable for different needs, sometimes more reconnaissance, sometimes training. And this is the massive and massively engineered J-58, Pratt & Whitney. You see these bypasses right here. Are one of the integral reasons why this engine is able to work. And one of the lesser known are these intake cones are able to move in and out in order to keep the shock of the air tuned right in the exact place where it needs to be. So even down to that little point, it's important for this engineering. What's amazing is that 2 old Buick motors is what started this bad boy. This is 17976. Oop, little sneak peek. We'll be back around to see that one. You can see that exhaust. Go around to the other side. And as you can see right there, these also had titanium impregnated tires for the landing gear. And get a little peek. Now I also want to talk about the fuel, the JP9. JP9 had to have an octane rating so high that you could throw a cigarette in it and it would not explode, because JP9 only ignited under tremendous pressure, and you need that when you're going Mach 3.5 plus. The actual top speed is still top secret, so who knows? No, right here you can get a head on. Like I said, these would go in and out to tune the air perfectly for the air fuel mixture and compression in that massive J58. Like I said, this one's the fan favorite. If you grew up as a kid in the 90s like I did, this was heavily involved in pop culture. Let's go around and look at this F-16. Okay, this is an older one. This is the F-100. Flew by the world famous Thunderbirds. And here is a newer example, the F-16. The Fighting Falcon. Now, I tell this story all the time, so I had to tell it again. I was driving in North Las Vegas, right near Nellis Air Force Base, and I was lucky enough to see them practice. It's always amazing how I just these old F-16s. I can't believe I'm calling the F-16 old now. The agility. Let's go take a look at the bone. There's the back of it. These are new. Shout out to all the ladies. There's the back of the bone. under the wing. And here's the front of the bone. The B-1B stealth bomber. If one of these were coming for you, you should be really afraid. Let's go take a look at that gear. Whoop. And we're finally to the front. It's a massive airplane. The Boeing B-1B Lancer. The Cold War era. It's crazy, from 1946 to 1990, how long that lasted. Now, if you remember earlier from the experimental, this is the Bell Boeing CV-22B Osprey. You can see those articulating rotors. That one that we saw earlier was the precursor to this, because now this one is out of the experimental stage and is used heavily gunship. Can you imagine those cannons coming for you? Can you imagine that cannon come for you? Gatling guns. Now this one's also a crowd favorite. The Fairchild Republic Thunderbolt A-10. Because of that right there. Close air support to ground troops, because this coming for you, you didn't stand too much of a chance. And those rear set engines and plenty of nacelles for other munitions. The A-10 Thunderbolt. Now let's just take a minute to admire this 50 cal for a few seconds here. Drone technology. There's a big thing about drones in the news lately. Azrael. Let's see. There we go. Angel of Death. Stealth. I remember in the 90s, stealth was everything. Lockheed. F-117 Nighthawk.
F1.
And then the one with the teeth.
Let's take a look at this. I'm glad they have plenty of these to show the intense nature of these jet aircrafts and their jet engines. And we also have some examples of Soviet aircraft. Now it seems like when you see a Soviet aircraft, you can't really miss them because they all have a certain type of look. They never really paid too much attention to creature comforts, especially for the pilot. I mean, it looked like you had to be stuffed inside there. Now, I can remember that as a child, when this happened, when the wall came down. Coming back, like I said, this is a CIA spy plane that's operated and maintained by the U.S. Air Force. Now, if we look up, we have a U-2 Dragon Lady. One of these got shot down and there was a major embarrassment, and that is what brought the need for the SR-71. Let's go over here real quick. Because if you flew on the edge of space, we'll get back to that. We'll come back to that. You needed a space suit. And the reason for that, Dragon Lady, can you imagine walking around with a camera this big, taking miles and miles and miles of photos? And they were all looked at by an actual human being. I should say miles and miles of film. It's a pretty huge film, but it's a huge camera. And you would review it all with your own two eyes. All right, since the Wi-Fi is holding strong, let's go over to the other side. Let's go right there, all the way over there. Massiveness. And this is one thing that I'm grateful for, that the Mark 41 thermonuclear bomb the Mark 39, and the massive, barely fits in the frame, Mark 17. So we are in the Cold War section, and as most of you know, the Cold War was about MAD, mutually assured destruction. And we have the Corvair B-36J Peacemaker, another massive aircraft. Early drone technology. Now we have a real Jeep, the Willys quarter-ton Jeep, made to be able to be taken apart and put back together completely. I'm gonna guess, I don't know the exact time, but I know it's less than an hour, like the entire thing. They actually still have competitions of people who can take this thing apart piece by piece and put it back together.
Yes, we will get a water when we get to the.
We're almost there. We'll get you water.
All right, let's take another walk. Hopefully this Wi-Fi holds up.
Look at the make in your plane.
Well, we want to go to where we can get to enough things.
Like I said, here at the Dayton Air Force Museum, in Wright Pat Air Force Base, there's massiveness. There's not one or two little planes. There's not 3 or 4 or 5 or 10. We almost got all of them. Little Nikon One Touch. I can't leave it out. We have a B-1 bomber. It's massive too. And we fit the whole thing in here. And the connector to the hangar, we have tons of historical references. The dogs get dropped off in the parachute. All right, we back? Yes, we back. Hoping to keep you guys for as long as we can. To keep you guys for as long as we can. And thanks for sticking around. We'll start over here with one of my favorite aircrafts because it is large enough for me to fit on. Because as you see, a lot of these fighter jets are made for the smaller guy. We have a full Vietnam era B-52 Stratofortress. Like I said, our hangars are massive enough, and we don't have just one or two aircrafts, or three, or four, or five, or six. Let's go take a look at this Bombay. Now, it isn't the largest, as you can imagine, this full of munitions coming right down on you. Look at the wild weasel coming for you. We are in the Southeast Asia portion. F-111. Known for its swept wing technology. The wings come out for low speed stability, and the wings are swept back for high speed agility. Memphis Belle II. Now these always intrigue me. These little MiGs, Mikoyan Gurevich MiG-17F. If you see them up close, they are not that large, but they were very, very fast. As you look at this compared to that, you were basically flying with an engine between your legs. Like there's the cockpit right there. There's the intake. Now this is new. They have a small section for the GWAT. Or I might be in the wrong area. Yeah, I think I'm in the wrong area. This is the GWAT. This is still Southeast Asia. Now these are all new dioramas. The Tokarov Type 54. And you can imagine hopping out with your M16, your M60, grenade launcher, right in the battle. And we're on the other side of that B-52. Slated to be in operation all the way until 2053.
Colleagues of mine who have.
As a matter of fact, a lot of them recently just got brand new Rolls-Royce engines. So yes, they are ready to go. And they're going to be ready to go for a very long time. If you look at that, you wonder why you should be worried if there's drones over your head. You should be. And that one's even larger. Over there they have simulators. Looks pretty cool, pretty fun. Now, this is one of the newer,
There's someone actually drives.
the F-22 Raptor. Like I said, if these are coming for you, you better be afraid. And these for sure had thrust vectoring. So this thing can turn on a dime and give you change. We also have a small section for the Korean War. It's a conflict that didn't really last too long, but long enough. Some of you may have... Oh, I missed that comment. Oh, thank you. Peace out. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here with me this long. Some of you may still have relatives that were in this conflict. Now, my grandfather, my mom's mom, was involved with this conflict. Like I mentioned, these MiGs were so small, you were basically riding with a jet engine in between your legs. And also keep in mind that there's still 2 other hangars that I'm not going to make it to today. But they possess the early days, all the way up to World War I, all the way to World War II. So I think right now it's a good time to wrap this up. Turn myself around. Thanks for hanging out with me at the museum. All the YouTube stuff, if you see this, like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Tell me what you think. And I'll see you in the next video.